Human reacts to alien girl's bioluminescent skin, but human sees the glow form his own shape. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's return to our main character. Ethan Hale moved through the dim corridor of Outpost Sierra 9, his flashlight cutting a thin stripe of white across panels that hummed weakly after the power surge. Dust drifted like slow snowflakes in the recycled air, and the brushed aluminum beneath his boots vibrated with the faint pulse of emergency systems trying to stay alive. He wasn't supposed to be here alone, but the maintenance wing had sealed itself during the blackout, and he was the closest technician on the grid. His breath fogged lightly in front of him, a reminder that the temperature regulators were still limping along. He pushed open the last hatch with a low groan of metal, and the sound echoed strangely, carried by the cold. Then he saw it, a soft blue glow blooming in the darkness like a breath of underwater light. At first he thought it was a cracked coolant tube, but the glow shifted, curved, and rose in a slow pulse that reminded him of a heartbeat. He stepped closer, careful, feeling the hairs on his arms lift as static brushed his skin. The glow wasn't coming from machinery. It was coming from someone. She sat on the floor beside a toppled stasis pod, her knees drawn close, her hands resting lightly on the metal deck. Lyria. He recognized her from the research logs, an off-world visitor, part of the biocultural exchange program. Her skin, a cool blue-silver tone, shimmered with bands of bioluminescent light that flowed across her arms like tides responding to a distant moon. "Hey," Ethan whispered, lowering himself to her level. "Are you hurt?" She lifted her face slowly, eyes reflecting the faint blue that swam across her skin. When he took another cautious step forward, the light on her arms brightened, then shifted shape. Ethan froze. The glow stretched upward, forming a faint outline, not random, not abstract. It looked like him. The shape broadened at the shoulders, tapered at the waist, then curved into something unmistakably human. Ethan felt his pulse jump, the flashlight wobbling slightly in his grip. He tried to calm his breathing, but the glow mirrored even that, expanding and contracting with a rhythm uncannily close to his own. Lyria blinked, looking from the glowing outline to his face with quiet astonishment. "Your presence," her voice was soft, calm despite the strangeness. "It affects the light." Ethan swallowed. "It's copying me?" "No," she said, watching the glow shift again, now tracing the slope of his arm as if the light could sense his outline without touch. "It's responding to you." A distant rumble trembled through the outpost, lights flickering overhead, but neither of them moved. The glow on her skin held his shape steady, as if it had chosen him out of the empty dark. The emergency lights flickered again, a soft pulse of amber sliding across the metal walls as Ethan steadied himself. The glow on Lyria's skin continued to mirror his outline, responding to the smallest shift of his weight, as if it could feel the movement through the air alone. He lowered his flashlight, letting the softer emergency lighting take over. Lyria watched him with a calm, curious focus, her bioluminescent patterns drifting like quiet waves beneath her skin. "Does it hurt?" Ethan asked, keeping his voice low so it did not echo too sharply in the cold corridor. She shook her head gently. "It feels like warmth," she said, "almost like remembering something I have never lived." The faint hum of the power grid stuttered, making the deck under them tremble. Ethan glanced up instinctively, checking for loose ceiling panels, but everything held steady. "We should get you standing," he said. "Can you move?" Lyria tried to rise, placing her hands on the floor, but her balance faltered. Ethan reached out quickly, stopping just short of her arm, giving her space to decide. She leaned slightly toward him, allowing his support. When his hand finally touched her forearm, the glow surged upward in a soft wave, brighter but still gentle, like moonlight through water. The light shaped itself again, tracing the slope of his shoulder and the curve of his hand as he helped her upright. Ethan felt his breath catch, steadying her carefully. "It is reading you," she murmured. "Your outline, your pulse, your movement in the air." She tilted her head. "It has never responded this way to anyone." He offered a small, reassuring smile. I guess today is a day for surprises. The corridor's temperature control flicked back on for a brief moment, sending a faint warm draft past them. Lyria's glow flickered in response, dimming and then brightening again, almost playfully. Ethan guided her toward the inner door that led to the main laboratory. Their steps were cautious but steady, the soft blue light drifting along the walls as they moved. You said it responds, not copies, Ethan said. What does that mean exactly? Lyria hesitated, searching for words in a language not native to her. My species developed bioluminescence as a communicative field, she explained quietly. Emotion, intention, proximity, they can influence the patterns. But forming a shape. She looked at his silhouette glowing on her skin again, the softness outlining him with almost perfect precision. That is something reserved for deep connections. Bonds. Ethan's heartbeat quickened, not out of fear but from the strange, gentle weight of her words. We just met, he said softly. Yes, she replied. And yet the light does not lie. The inner door slid open with a tired hiss, letting them into a warmer room lit by pale, overhead strips. Equipment sat in neat rows, some blinking faintly as power stabilized. Lyria stepped forward, her balance better now, and her glow calmed into slow, drifting currents. Ethan stayed close enough to catch her if she stumbled, but not so close as to crowd her. The glow still reached for him anyway, forming that familiar outline whenever he paused. She noticed it again and looked down at her arm, then back at him with a soft expression that felt almost like wonder. Perhaps, she said quietly, the light found something in you before I did. The hum of the room settled into a steady rhythm, and for the first time since the blackout, the outpost felt almost calm. The lab's overhead lights steadied into a soft white glow, washing the room in a calm that felt almost deliberate, as if the outpost itself was taking a slow breath. Ethan guided Lyria toward an examination bench, its surface cool and clean, untouched by the earlier blackout. She sat with a graceful care, her hands resting lightly on her knees. And the bioluminescent patterns across her skin shifted into calm ripples that reminded Ethan of gentle waves touching a shoreline. Your systems are stabilizing, he said, checking a monitor that flickered back to life. Temperature is back to normal levels. Oxygen flow is steady. Lyria watched him work, her eyes following every movement, not with suspicion but with quiet attentiveness. Your skill with these systems, she murmured, it carries a kind of certainty. Ethan glanced at her, a small smile pulling at the corner of his mouth. I grew up fixing machines that were older than I was. If it had wires or a power cell, someone in my family shoved it in my hands and said, figure it out. Lyria tilted her head slightly, amused. The glow brushed faintly along her cheek like soft morning light. You speak of your childhood with warmth. He nodded. Most days. Her gaze softened. The glow on her forearms mirrored his posture again, shaping itself with an almost artistic precision. Ethan leaned closer, curious. Does it always respond this fast? She lifted her arm, watching the outline of his silhouette drift across her skin, matching the angle of his shoulders and the tilt of his head. No, she said quietly. This level of resonance would usually take long familiarity. Shared time. Shared emotion. Her fingers lightly traced the glowing shape, as if trying to understand it by touch. But with you. She hesitated, searching for the right phrasing. It aligned in moments. Ethan felt something shift in the air, a weight that was not heavy but meaningful. He cleared his throat gently and stepped to the main console. Let me check the environmental logs, he said, grounding the moment in something practical. Screens scrolled back online one by one, lines of data returning from the blackout. Lyria watched the lines of light dance across the displays, her own glow quietly reflecting the colors. What caused the outage? She asked. A surge in the grid, he answered. Probably from the outer solar collector. It has been fluctuating for days. Did it harm anyone? Her voice carried genuine concern. No reports yet, Ethan replied. But the lockdown protocols triggered. That is why you were sealed in the maintenance wing. Lyria lowered her gaze. Stasis pods do not react well to sudden power loss. I remember light, then cold, then nothing. Ethan's expression softened. You are safe now. The glow on her shoulders brightened slightly, as if acknowledging the words. A soft beep sounded from the console. Ethan leaned closer. Environmental scans show no contaminants, he said, and your vitals look stable. Whatever the glow is doing, it is not harming you. Lyria breathed out, relieved. The glow is a truth teller, she said. If it were distressed, you would see it. Ethan approached her slowly, giving her full space to react. May I see it up close? He asked. She extended her arm with calm confidence. The glow responded instantly, forming a faint but precise outline of Ethan's hand hovering just above her skin, even though he had not touched her yet. He watched the light shape itself, delicate and steady. It is reading distance, he murmured. An intention, she added softly. Ethan stood still, letting the moment settle. Her glow held the shape of his presence with steady, quiet certainty, as if it had decided something long before either of them understood why. The soft hum of the laboratory settled into a steady rhythm as systems continued to recover, casting a calm glow over the metal panels and the quiet instruments lining the walls. Ethan adjusted a diagnostic scanner, ensuring its readings stayed accurate, then turned back toward Lyria. She sat with her hands resting gently on her knees, watching the faint currents of bioluminescent light ripple across her skin. The glow still reached for him in soft pulses, forming the faint echo of his silhouette whenever he drew close. Ethan approached slowly, careful not to disturb the delicate moment forming between them. I want to make sure you are not experiencing any aftereffects from the blackout, he said, his voice low and steady. Lightheadedness, disorientation, or discomfort? Lyria lifted her gaze, her eyes reflecting the soft blue shimmer rolling along her arms. Only curiosity, she replied, and a sense of calm that arrived when you did. He felt the warmth of her words settle quietly in his chest, and he nodded once, grounding the moment with a small, steady breath. He picked up a portable reader and moved into her proximity, watching as the glow shaped itself again, forming the outline of his shoulders with gentle precision. This is still remarkable, he murmured. The patterns are responding to me before I even move. Lyria lifted her hand, examining the drifting shapes. It is reading. Your intention, she said softly. My people call this the echo field. It reveals alignment of presence. Presence, Ethan repeated. Not emotion? Not exactly, Lyria said. Emotion influences it, but presence is different. It is the way someone exists in a space, the steadiness of their breathing, the choices they do not realize they are making. Ethan blinked slowly. That sounds almost poetic. It is biology, she replied, though the gentle curve of her lips suggested otherwise. The lights flickered once, then steadied, drawing Ethan's attention to the console. A status update scrolled across the screen. Power levels are climbing, he said. It looks like we will have full systems restored soon. Does that mean the outpost will return to normal function? Lyria asked. Ethan nodded. Yes, but I want you to rest until I am sure everything is stable. She studied him for a quiet moment, her glow responding to his nearness again, shaping the tilt of his head and the gentle slope of his arm. You protect without declaring that you are doing so, she said. Ethan rubbed the back of his neck lightly. I look after what is in front of me. That is all. That is not all, she said, her voice soft but certain. He glanced away, focusing on the medical readout. Her vitals were steady, breath rate calm, bioluminescent activity elevated but stable. The glow traced a faint outline along the metal surface beside her, echoing his posture. Your light really is watching everything, he said. It looks almost aware. It is not alive, she answered, but it listens. She extended her hand toward him, not touching, simply inviting him to step closer. Ethan moved into the space beside her, slow and careful. The glow brightened gently, forming a clear outline across her arm and shoulder. It shaped him with soft accuracy, as if recognizing him again and again. Lyria looked at the glowing shape with quiet wonder. It seems, she whispered, that my echo field has already decided you are safe. Ethan exhaled a slow breath, steady and warm in the calm air of the laboratory. Then I hope, he said softly, I can live up to what it sees. The glow held his outline steady, almost as if offering its own quiet agreement. The laboratory lights settled into a steady white glow, the hum of the restored systems blending into a calm background rhythm. Ethan adjusted a sensor panel near the wall, then turned back toward Lyria, who remained seated on the examination bench with quiet composure. Her bioluminescent patterns drifted in soft currents beneath her skin, responding to the air, the temperature, and especially to him. When he stepped into her proximity again, the glow reached outward in a gentle ripple that formed the familiar outline of his shape along her forearm, as if greeting him. Lyria studied the shifting light with a contemplative stillness. The echo field is settling, she murmured. It adapts when the environment becomes stable. Ethan stopped beside her, keeping a respectful distance but close enough for the glow to sense his presence. It is still forming that shape, he said quietly. Does that mean it is still reading me? It does, she replied. It is mapping your presence. She lifted her hand, watching the light respond in a slow, upward sweep that matched the tilt of Ethan's head. But it is also learning you. Ethan blinked. Learning? Yes, she said, lowering her gaze to her glowing skin. The echo field is not thought, but it is pattern. It interprets intention and aligns itself with those who bring steadiness. He let that sink in. So I am steady. Your presence is steady, she corrected gently. Your breathing, your posture, your focus. It stabilizes the field. Ethan felt a small warmth stir in his chest, an emotion he did not name but understood the shape of. He checked the power grid readings again. The outpost is holding steady, he said. We can move to the observation lounge. It will be warmer there. Lyria nodded and eased herself off the bench. Ethan offered his hand, but only if she needed it. She accepted it with calm grace, and the glow that followed their joined motion drifted outward like a soft watercolor stroke. They stepped into the corridor, which felt warmer now that the temperature regulators were working properly. The walk was slow but unhurried, their footsteps quiet against the brushed metal. When Ethan stopped to adjust a flickering panel, Lyria paused with him, her glow stabilizing into smooth, steady currents. What is the observation lounge like? She asked. It has a wide viewing window facing the ridge, he said. When the storm clouds clear, you can see the stars without distortion. Lyria's eyes softened. My home sky was full of light. My people lived near reflective seas. The night was never entirely dark. Ethan glanced at her glow. You carry some of that light with you. She looked down at the soft patterns across her arms. This light is not memory. It reacts to the world around me. Her gaze lifted to meet his. Tonight, it reacts to you. Ethan inhaled slowly, steadying the quiet weight of her words. They reached the observation lounge. Its door slid open with a smooth hiss, revealing a wide room washed in dim amber light. Thin panels traced along the ceiling like warm dusk. The viewing window stretched across the far wall, showing the dark outline of distant ridges beneath slowly shifting clouds. Lyria stepped forward, her glow brightening slightly at the open space. She paused near the window and placed her hand on the glass. The blue light spread in a soft halo around her palm. Ethan stayed close enough for the echo field to sense him, and once again his outline shimmered faintly across her shoulder and arm. Lyria watched the reflection of the glow in the window. It is quieter now, she whispered. Almost peaceful. Ethan folded his hands lightly behind his back. It seems to like the calm. Or, she said softly, it likes the one who brings the calm. The glow shaped his outline with steady certainty, holding it as if it had found something it trusted. The observation lounge settled into a quiet stillness, the kind that wrapped softly around the room like a warm blanket. Outside the wide window, the storm clouds thinned just enough for a faint trail of starlight to slip through, scattering pale reflections across the glass. Lyria stood close to the window, watching the distant glow with thoughtful eyes. Her bioluminescent patterns shifted in slow, soothing currents, their soft blue light drifting across her arms like calm tides. Ethan remained a few steps behind her, giving her space, yet the echo field continued to reach toward him, forming a faint outline of his presence along her shoulders. When she finally turned toward him, the light adjusted instantly, shaping the quiet angle of his posture with gentle precision. Your world has a different sky, she said softly. It feels quieter, more distant. Ethan stepped to the side of the window, looking out at the faint stars beyond the ridge. This outpost sits far, enough for major cities that light pollution does not reach us. When the weather clears, it is like standing in the middle of deep space. Peaceful, she murmured, and a little lonely. Ethan considered that for a moment. Maybe both, he admitted. A small flicker of light moved across the glass as Lyria shifted her stance. She studied her reflection, watching the outline of Ethan appear on her forearm like a soft, living sketch. The echo field should not be this responsive, she said quietly. It adapts to patterns, but it does not usually mirror someone so precisely. Ethan rested his hand lightly on the metal frame of the window. Is it dangerous? No, she said. If it were, the glow would dim or scatter. But it is stable, strong. That is what confuses me. She lifted her hand, letting the glow stretch in a gentle arc toward him. It should take days, even weeks, for this level of resonance. Yet it responded to you immediately. Ethan watched the way the light traced his outline again, shaping the angle of his shoulders and the tilt of his head with delicate accuracy. Maybe there is something unique about the environment here, he suggested. The atmospheric mix, the energy fields, or the power fluctuations from the storm. Lyria shook her head slowly. No, the echo field does not respond to weather or machinery, only to living presence. She looked at him, her expression soft but searching. Ethan, this field maps intention. It aligns with those who approach without disruption. He held her gaze, steady and calm. I am just being myself. That, she said, is exactly why it responds. A gentle quiet settled between them. The storm outside softened into a low rumble, and a steady glow from the emergency lights painted warm tones along the edges of the room. Lyria stepped closer to the window again, placing her fingertips against the glass. The blue light gathered around her hand, forming a soft halo that pushed outward in slow waves. Ethan moved to stand beside her, close but not crowding. The echo field brightened along her arm in response, forming his entire silhouette with a clarity that made her breath catch. She touched the glowing outline gently, her voice barely above a whisper. It sees you. Ethan exhaled slowly, a calm, grounding breath. Then I hope it sees something good. Lyria watched. The reflection in the glass, the glow holding his outline steady against her skin. It sees steadiness, she said. And steadiness is rare. The starlight outside sharpened for just a moment, catching the soft glow between them, and the room felt suddenly, inexplicably warmer. The observation lounge grew quieter as the last traces of the storm faded, leaving only the low hum of the outpost's climate system and the soft shimmer of Lyria's bioluminescent patterns drifting across her skin. She remained near the viewing window, her fingers resting lightly against the glass as if feeling the night beyond it. Ethan stood beside her, arms loosely folded, watching the glow respond to his presence with a steadiness that felt almost like breathing. The outline it formed of him was clear and sure, holding shape even when he shifted slightly. Lyria watched the reflection in the glass with a thoughtful stillness. The echo field has never held so firmly, she murmured. It usually adapts, changes, shifts. But this, it is choosing consistency. Ethan tilted his head. And that means something? It means trust, she said softly. Not emotion exactly, but recognition of safe alignment. He let that settle between them. Outside the window, the first clean patch of sky opened, revealing a cluster of faint stars cutting through the lingering clouds. Their light scattered across the glass, mingling with the soft glow spilling from Lyria's skin. Ethan checked the environmental readout on the wall. Temperature levels are normal. Air quality is stable. You should be comfortable here for the rest of the night. Lyria turned toward him, her expression gentle. Your concern has been constant since the blackout. I would do it for anyone, he said. She studied him for a quiet moment, and the glow along her arm brightened slightly, shaping his outline as if reinforcing her observation. That is why it responds, she whispered. You act without calculation. Ethan rubbed the back of his neck lightly. It is just who I am. Yes, she said, and the echo field sees that. A faint tremor ran through the floor, not dangerous, just the outpost adjusting power flow as systems fully restored. The ceiling lights brightened a shade, returning the room to its usual glow. Lyria blinked against the shift, her patterns adjusting in a slow wave. The light inside me is settling, she said. More balanced now. Ethan watched the glow, noting the smoothness of its movement. Is that a good sign? It is, she replied. It means I am no longer in shock from the stasis disruption. She stepped away from the window, testing her balance. Her movements were steadier now, graceful and sure. Ethan instinctively reached out in case she needed support, but she remained balanced, her posture calm. Still, the echo field responded to his nearness, forming faint traces of his silhouette along her shoulders and arms. Lyria looked down at the drifting outline with quiet wonder. "Ethan," she said softly, "the field is not only reacting to you. It is synchronizing." "Synchronizing," he repeated. "Like matching rhythm?" "Yes," she answered. "It is aligning with your presence, adjusting its energy to yours. That is incredibly rare." Ethan watched the glow trace his shape across her skin again, holding with gentle certainty. "Does this happen with your people?" "Only between individuals who have spent long periods together," she said. "Working, traveling, sharing routines. Bonds formed over months or years." She lifted her hand, letting the glow ripple gently. "But with you, it is immediate." Ethan felt his breath settle into a calm, steady rhythm. "Why me?" Lyria met his eyes, her voice soft as drifting light. "Because your presence feels safe. Because you offered calm when I woke to confusion." The glow shaped his outline with slow, deliberate clarity, as if agreeing with her. The storm outside thinned further, revealing more stars, their pale reflections mixing with the echo of his silhouette on her luminous skin. Lyria exhaled gently. "It seems," she said, "that the night is telling us something quiet." Ethan did not speak, but he understood the meaning in the stillness between them. The glow held his shape as steadily as her words, and the room felt warm in a way that had nothing to do with the temperature regulators. The stars outside the observation window sharpened into clearer points of light as the last of the storm clouds drifted away, leaving the ridge bathed in a muted silver glow. Lyria stood quietly near the glass, watching the night sky with a focus that seemed both outward and inward at the same time. Her bioluminescent patterns drifted along her skin in slow, thoughtful currents, each movement steady and deliberate. The echo field continued to respond to Ethan's presence, forming the soft outline of his silhouette along her arms and shoulders as if the light itself had memorized him. Ethan stepped closer to the window, stopping at a respectful distance beside her. The glow on her skin shifted immediately, adjusting to reflect his new position with seamless accuracy. Lyria noticed the change and breathed out slowly, her expression filled with a quiet realization. "Ethan," she said, her voice steady but touched with something deeper. "There is something I have not told you about my people." He turned slightly, giving her his full attention. "You do not have to share anything you are not comfortable with," he said gently. "I know," she replied, "but I think you should hear this. The echo field does not simply map intention or presence. It also reveals potential alignment." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Potential alignment?" "Yes," she said softly. "When two individuals resonate, even briefly, the field shows the possible shape of their connection. Not a promise, not a binding, just a possibility." Ethan looked down at the faint outline of himself shimmering across her shoulder. "And that is what this is showing? It is showing that something in you," she said, touching the glowing silhouette lightly, "matches something in me." The room seemed to settle even further into stillness, the quiet deepening around them like a gentle pause. Ethan breathed slowly, grounding himself. "Is that rare?" "Very," she answered. "Most echo fields remain neutral unless there is prolonged shared experience. But yours aligned almost instantly." She glanced back at the window, her reflection mingling with his faint, glowing outline. It should not have happened this quickly. Ethan stepped just a little closer, careful, watching the glow respond in soft ripples. "Does it mean I am doing something wrong?" "No," she said immediately. "You are doing something right." Her voice softened, almost a whisper. "You approached without demand, without expectation. That is uncommon." Ethan let out a slow exhale. "I was just trying to help." "Exactly," she replied. "And the field recognizes that." A faint tremor rippled through the outpost as the last power conduits locked back into full capacity, but the moment remained undisturbed. The lights overhead steadied into a warm tone, giving the room a gentle glow that blended with the starlight outside. Lyria looked at Ethan again, her expression calm, yet filled with quiet understanding. "There is more," she said. "The echo field only forms a shape this clearly when it senses a stabilizing counterpart." Ethan tilted his head slightly. "Stabilizing?" "A presence that brings balance," she said. Someone whose intention stays steady even when the environment does not. She lifted her arm, showing the clear outline the light had shaped. This is the field's way of saying that your presence brings order to mine. Ethan felt the weight of the moment settle into something warm. I did not expect to matter this much, he said quietly. Lyria shifted closer to the window, letting the glow spread in a soft halo. Sometimes, she said, connection does not follow understanding. It simply arrives. The starlight brightened against the glass, reflecting the quiet bond forming in the space between them, and the echo field held his silhouette with a certainty that neither of them questioned. The ridge outside the observation window glowed with the faint silver of clearing skies, and the stars above slowly sharpened into a steady field of light. The outpost had fully settled into its nighttime hum, a quiet pulse running through the floor panels like a heartbeat restored. Lyria stood near the glass, her bioluminescent patterns soft and steady, drifting in slow currents that reflected calm rather than confusion. Ethan stayed beside her, close enough for the echo field to sense him, yet giving her the space to feel the moment on her own terms. The glow still shaped his outline along her shoulders and arms, holding his silhouette with quiet certainty. The field has never behaved like this, Lyria said softly, her eyes tracing the gentle shape of him on her skin. It is not only aligning. It is anchoring. Ethan watched the glow, his voice low. And what does anchoring mean for you? She let her fingers hover over the luminous echo, almost but not quite touching. Anchoring means the field has found a stabilizing presence. Someone it believes can offer consistency. Ethan exhaled slowly, the weight of that settling gently into his chest. I did not realize I carried that kind of influence. Most people do not, she replied. But intention reveals itself more clearly than words. A moment of silence stretched between them, comfortable and warm, woven with the soft hum of the outpost and the distant starlight brushing the glass. Lyria turned slightly toward him, her glow responding immediately in a broad, calm wave that reshaped his silhouette with crisp clarity. There is something else you should know, she said. My people consider the echo field's anchoring to be a form of recognition. Not binding, not permanent, but deeply meaningful. Ethan held her gaze, steady and open. What does it recognize? A potential harmony, she said. A compatibility between intentions. A balance of presence. She breathed in slowly, her glow responding with a soft shimmer. It is not something we see often. Ethan let that sink in. And you trust what it shows? The field does not exaggerate, she replied. It does not flatter. It simply reflects. She looked back at the window, her reflection mingling with the faint outline of him glowing across her skin. And it has chosen to reflect you. Ethan stepped closer, careful and composed. The echo field brightened in response, forming his outline with gentle precision along her shoulder. You said it shows possibilities, he murmured. Not certainties. Yes, she said. But possibilities matter. They reveal where understanding might grow. She lifted her arm, letting the light settle into a calm, steady shape of him. This is its way of telling me there is something true in your presence. Ethan felt the stillness deepen around them, the room holding the moment as tenderly as the glow held his silhouette. Lyria, he said quietly, I am just trying to do the right thing. And that, she replied, is the rarest presence the echo field can find. The stars outside brightened just enough to cast a faint reflection across the floor, and the glow on Lyria's skin shimmered in the same soft tone, blending with the starlight as though the night itself had chosen to echo the shape she carried. She lowered her arm slowly, watching the light settle, then looked at Ethan with a calm that felt both new and deeply certain. It seems, she whispered, that the field has decided you belong in its pattern. Ethan stood still, letting the gentle truth of her words rest between them. The echo field shaped his silhouette one final time, steady and clear, holding it as if it understood something the two of them were only just beginning to discover.